Well, now I'm joined in this studio by U.S. Ambassador to France, Jane Hartley. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm also joined by our International Affairs Editor, Douglas Herbert. Madam Ambassador, firstly, I would just simply like to ask you for your reaction to Friday's tragic events.
Well, first, I'd like to express my condolences to the victims and to the families of the victims. It's a horrific, horrific tragedy. I'm from New York. I have lived through this before. And I want to repeat what our president said. This is not just an attack on Paris, on the people that live in Paris, but it is truly an attack on humanity.
Yes, indeed. Actually, this set right now is filled with 3 New Yorkers. Douglas, also from New York. Not to just put it on that eye as well, I'm from New York, and it certainly is something that we are seeing many New Yorkers even saying that. You said you've received emails just asking questions about this.
Yeah, since this happened, I've received so many emails from New Yorkers asking me about my safety. But also going on to say we know how it feels, and we want the French to know that we are shoulder to shoulder with them. And in New York over the weekend, many things happened, but the Statue of Liberty, a gift from the French, was lit up in French colors. The Statue of Liberty, which to me signifies freedom and liberty. Yes. So an important symbol. And at our New York Philharmonic last night, they played the French national anthem, and people stood in respect and in solidarity.
Yes, indeed, and it's important at this time. And now let me ask you, we've heard from the U.S. President saying that we will indeed support France as it faces this challenge that is now a global challenge. That's been said. Do we have an idea exactly of what capacity this will be in?
Well, I know we're working closely with the French, and really since minutes after the attack, our government has been involved. I personally have been in contact with the Minister of Interior, with the Elysee. Our Secretary Kerry has been as well, and really throughout our government. Lisa Monaco, I know, has been in constant contact with Bernard Cazeneuve. We are here to work with the French. We are here to support the French, and I know, particularly in the law enforcement area, there's been close contact.
Douglas, I want to bring you in, yeah.
Just like, has this given, within the embassy, is there now sort of pause to connect back to the U.S.? Is there a sense of heightened vigilance now back in the United States because of what's happened here? Is there a sense of heightened threat to the U.S.? And have officials here come sort of asking you and your staff for more details about what you know about what's going on here?
I wouldn't call it heightened vigilance. I mean, the U.S., remember, this happened to us on 9/11, and since then, there has been vigilance in the U.S., and we've seen this year attacks throughout the United States. So there obviously is tight security in the United States, but there has been. But the one point I do think, as we've seen over the last few weeks, the Russian airliner, the attack in Beirut, we all have to start thinking that we are in this together. This is not, this terrorism does not stop at borders. It is something that we all have to deal with, and it can happen anywhere.
Some people here, the French media and commentators have been calling this the French 9/11, and we first sort of heard this comparison being made back in January in the Charlie Hebdo attacks. How do you see this? I mean, it's perhaps a little crass to make comparisons, but do you see this in a sense as the French 9/11?
In some sense, yes. I mean, I remember I was in New York during 9/11, and I remember the fear, the sense of outrage, that innocent civilians, people that were going to work every day, had been killed. And, that's what I see here. Young children, young people out on a Friday night celebrating the best of Paris, music, food, to be attacked for no reason. So yes, there are similarities. And I think it means, frankly, that, this fight against terrorism is ongoing. We obviously haven't solved it. And it means all of us, in France and the United States, have been working closely on this throughout the last years. But I think all of us, including our coalition partners, have to work together.
That being said, in terms of perhaps something that you can do as an American being abroad, what's your message, though, to those back home in the States for how they can help France?
I think they can help France by what they're doing, showing their support. I think they can help France, frankly, by coming here. COP21 is going to be a huge event, which President Hollande, Minister Fabius, Minister Royal have worked so hard on, with the support of President Obama, with the support of our White House. It's so important to President Obama. Climate is going to be one of his legacies. And he is coming to COP.
Yes. So saying don't let fear keep you.
I'm saying
from,
don't. Yes, I once again lived through this in New York, and New York was shocked, as I said before, but we bounced back because we're New Yorkers, and I see the same grit and determination and strength here in France.
I just wanted to quickly ask you about, the attacks, whether the connection's justified or not, has re-sparked the debate over the migrant crisis, with a lot of your voices, especially in Eastern Central Europe, saying that they just can't cope. This is proof they're overwhelmed. The policies aren't working. Do you feel the U.S. can and should do more, perhaps, to take in refugees from Syria? Or is it just geographically not feasible? What do you think when you see the migrant crisis here, when people say this is really a global problem?
Well, listen, I think it is a global problem, and I obviously, when you see the footage of young children, and it breaks my heart, it breaks everybody's heart. I think the U.S. has done quite a bit on the humanitarian side. I think we've given about $4.1 billion in humanitarian aid. I think we just added $400 or $500 million the other day. The U.S. is a country of immigrants. It's where our hearts are. I assume we will continue to do that. We've also upped our our refugee totals over the next couple of years.
It's about 10,000 now, I believe, that Barack Obama has said he'll take in. It was a couple of thousand now. He's going to say in the coming year, I think 10,000 or so. I'm just curious, But it's 100,
the most important point, though, it's 100,000 total over the next week. I think it's 70,000 going to 85,000 going to 100,000.
So
it's a significant number.
A significant number. Have you had any expressions of concern? I'm sorry, sticking with the migrant crisis again. Any expressions from French officials, even right up to the President Hollande, coming to you and saying, you see that we're really, really up against the wall with this. Can you sort of go back to Washington and see if they could do a little bit more?
No, there has not been a request from the French government. They know, though, that on all of these issues, we work closely with them. Our State Department works closely with the MFA. I have very good relationships with the Elysee. And they know, if there is an issue, that those lines are always open. And as I say, the U.S. is a country of immigrants. That's how we were born. That's who we are. And humanitarian aid is something we care about. I'm sure that conversation, if it needs to be had, will be had.
Madam Minister, do you have, are you hearing, as of now, of course, this is still, many are still in a state of shock after Friday's events, but are you hearing much about, of course, defending French values, but perhaps a slight change? And what that means is perhaps giving up some civil liberties for more security or something along those lines of conversation?
I followed it in the press. I have not had direct questions.
Not on your end, then?
No, but it is, once again, we have lived through this. We saw it after 9/11. And, one of the key things you always have to do, and it's difficult, and I applaud the French government and I applaud the U.S. government for what we did. There has to be a balance between the public's security and the public's privacy.
Do you think more should be done, though, of a tightening?
I don't want to get into French politics. I know it is a difficult issue for all, but I think if you go to, I know, and our public after 9/11 was demanding security, demanding it. So I'm sure, in terms of the French public, if you ask them today, they would be also. The government does have to play a role in protecting privacy.
All right, excellent.
Thank you.
Jane Hartley, Madam Ambassador, U.S. Ambassador to France, thank you very much for joining us here on the set and sharing with us your perspective on events here. We really do appreciate it.
I'm happy to be here on this very sad day.